taking care of it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, let's start. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Agile Beirut AUB workshop. My name is Robert Saliba. I'm the founder of Agile Beirut community. I'm an Agile coach, Scrum Master. I have a Master's of Engineering, Software Engineering from Concordia University in Canada. Certified Scrum Master, Scrum Developer. More than 12 years building and executing software projects. Hisham.
I'm Agile Program Manager, Agile Coach, and Facilitator. I am in the software industry for the last 15 years. I am certified Scaled Agile Framework SPC, professional consultant, and I'm currently coaching teams at Murex. I am engineer. I have PhD in computer science and robotics, and my personal blog is hishamgoraib.com. Yes. For the agenda for today, we'll have a brief introduction and an overview of Agile Beirut community, our mission and vision. Then we'll have what we call Agile Heads Up with an introduction to the Agile mindset and a introduction to Scrum in a nutshell. The questions and answers will be at the end. So through the presentation, you can put your questions on Slido with a code 25680. And at the end, we'll share with you next steps with this journey with Agile Beirut. And last but not least, the return on time invested as a quick roti at the end. Next.
Okay, so to talk about Agile Beirut community, we're part of the Agile Alliance network, more than 91,700 members and 111 group in 21 countries. The Agile Beirut mission, we're a community dedicated to helping organization and individual build and deliver solution efficiently and effectively. We are relevant to all professionals contributing in any manner towards software product development and delivery. And there is no specific prerequisite for Agile SDLC. Any software professional can attend to get the big picture of how the high quality software applications and products are designed, executed, and delivered.
So Agile Beirut has its place today in the Lebanese software industry ecosystem. Again, as a community, we are looking forward to bridging the gap between the organizations and individuals to connect them together. Individuals coming from different sources, from academic sector, thousands of fresh graduates every year, professors in universities, employees, and by organizations we mean we start from self-employees to startups, SMEs, and banks. Again, we are on in this ecosystem of communities with joined to other communities existing before as AWS, Beirut AI, WordPress, and Facebook developer circles, and so on. Now, okay. An introduction to the Agile mindset. Why we start with Agile mindset? We'll discover after that the big change remains in the mindset, and it's not only in learning new practices. Okay, oops, sorry. Robert, do I have control?
Yes.
Yes. It's too slow, sorry.
Do you want me to help you on that?
Yes, please. Because
okay. Okay.
Okay. So today, with a digital disruption we have in the world, which is affecting practically all the industries across the globe. Robert.
Hey.
With this disruption, and the world is changing very fast, big companies will no more beat the small companies. It will not be a matter of size. It will be a matter of speed. So the fast will be start beating the slow. And fast will be start beating the slow in a world where every business is starting to be a software business. And in this software business today, agility is no more an option. It's adopted by by more than 60 to 80% of companies. And agility is no more a thing at the level of teams or softwares. It's a business imperative. And here, Dean Leffingwell, the creator of Scaled Agile framework, took it as a starting point for Agile at scale. Now, if agility is at this level of importance, what is this buzz of agility and Agile? We'll try to have a quick look together on it. Agile as an objective basically is agility to move quickly and easily. Now, how to move quickly and easily in the professional domain and in the software domain in particular. Agile is today an umbrella term which includes different methodologies, tools, techniques, practices, and the frameworks. You know, or you hear about, you already heard about some buzzwords about Scrum, Kanban, TDD, continuous delivery, Scrum of Scrum, less, DAD, safe. All these words are either frameworks or practices or tools being used under this umbrella, Agile. So Agile started, but before Agile, there was a Waterfall. Waterfall used in projects as a success of phases where you have a big goal. You start by planning, and you suppose that you have all the visibility, all the knowledge about what you are going to do and what you are going to achieve. And you start by executing step by step. And each, in this sequence of steps or activities, each stage is finished, then the next will start. And once they are put together on what we call a Gantt chart, it looks like a waterfall. And this is where the waterfall comes from. Waterfall has been used by software projects at the early beginning, and it proves that it's not that suitable for software projects in particular. Because in software projects, we have too many announcements, and we have some continuous delivery and continuous learning, and this is not matching with a waterfall approach. Now, what differs Agile approach from the traditional approach? Next. In the traditional approach, as we saw here in Waterfall, it's sequential and it's plan driven. So we put a plan, we stick to the plan, and we execute. And basically, when we do that, we suppose that given a well-defined set of inputs, the same outputs are generated every time. So it's highly predictive. And we suppose that all the work is understood before the execution. That's why we stick to the plan. And we follow the predetermined steps to get known results. This does not work, unfortunately, with software. Agile basically is iterative. It's not sequential, it's iterative, incremental, adaptative. It supposes that we don't know all the elements of the project at the early beginning. So it is change driven. We consider that the change is a fact and we adapt to change. So basically, we have a frequent inspection and adaptation that occurs as the work proceeds. We suppose that and we accept that the outputs are often unpredictable and unrepeatable. And we accept the process as is, and we continuously improve. Now I will introduce the iterative, the incremental, and the adaptative concepts. Iterative, here if we use the example of the Mona Lisa, at each iteration, we are delivering a Mona Lisa, but it is not the final one that we already know. It's a intermediate version of the Mona Lisa that helps at least to see the global picture where we are going, in which direction. Now, the incremental part is basically delivering some parts of the final product in an additive way. This does not mean that at each iteration we are delivering a final product that is working, but we can start see the accumulation of the parts or the end parts of the end product. Now, Agile is adaptive and is mixing iterative plus incremental. It means that at each iteration or at each release, at each time, we are delivering some increment, which is useful and it helps to get the big picture. So here, as you see in release 1, we are focusing on the head and we have the total of the picture. At the release 2, we can focus more on the head and to have it in a final stage and to start working more deeply on other parts. Now, a little bit of history. It's really a bit the story. Software, when we talk about 30 or 40 years of history, it's nothing. Here, what is important is that software development practices have been emerging and developing since a while. And from the early beginning for Agile, it appeared as the introduction of Scrum in the 95. And then in 2001, with the different initiatives around the same approach, which is the agility, Scrum, Crystal Clear, or extreme programming, feature-driven development, etc. So we had 17 developers who met in Snowbird in Ottawa, and they discussed to be aligned on a new way of doing things, which is a common ground for the different approaches they initiated. And here we had the Manifesto for Agile Software Development that was published in 2001. Now, since 2001, the Manifesto for Agile Software Development has been used as the main skeleton for the evolution of the different approaches. And in the last 6-7 years, we started to see the Scrum or the Agile at scale in the large big companies. And we saw new frameworks which emerged in between less, DAD, and SAFe. Now, again, for the Agile software, for the Manifesto of Agile Software Development, please, Robert, next.
Yes. Yes. So, yeah, to continue on what Hisham mentioned, just want to highlight the Agile Glossary in 2016 that came after the Software Craftsmanship Manifesto. And then, they highlighted the guide to Agile practices. So the Manifesto is mainly the skeleton and the backbone of the framework, where, we are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others to do it. We have 4 main points. So individuals and interaction over process and tools. So it focuses a lot on the people, not just following some steps written somewhere. So it's more about having something tangible, working software over comprehensive documentation. So at the end, we need something that works, not just following documentation. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So here the customer is present during the development of the software and not only on contract or paper. So this way you get feedback from the customer most of the time. I will go over the principles in a few in the next slides to explain more these 4 points. Responding to change over following a plan. So, sometimes the project takes more than a month or 2. I've worked on projects that took years of development, big frameworks and dashboards. But with time, that the market changed, the requirement changed, and the client will come back to you saying, hey, when we started the project, my marketing team did this, but now we need something else. So if we follow something other than Agile, like for instance, the Waterfall, we'll go into a lot of loops and plans and change requests, which will delay the software from being published on time. The first principle is we always have to, or the priority is to satisfy the customer throughout early continuous delivery of the software. So in Agile, we will see after also in other slides that we have iterations, and at the end of an iteration or a sprint, there is a working piece of software, incremental software that is functional to the client. We welcome changing requirements, even late in development. As I mentioned, the market can change, the client can change his mind. We have different requirements. We have, let's say, a new phone that, an iPhone, whatever, 13 that comes out, and we need to adapt to that phone. So we need to make sure that the process and the framework that we're using is capable to cater that kind of change, which what Agile does. Deliver working software frequently. As I mentioned, we always deliver a software at the end of each iteration. It could be a minimum viable product, means that a functional piece of software that the client can use to function. So we cannot just deliver, for instance, a homepage that doesn't do anything or a login screen that doesn't log in. At least you deliver a small piece, and then with time you iterate and you deliver more functioning software. Business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. So as I said, you cannot just go take the requirement and go disappear for a year and then come back after and say, hey, listen, this is what you guys requested. And the client like, no, that's not what I wanted. I wanted something else. And sometimes the verbal communication and writing requirement is not sufficient. People make mistakes, and sometimes the requirements are not clear, and most of the time the client doesn't know what he wants, or he wants something that's not 100% clear. So yeah, like I'll give you an example. I want my website to work on mobile phones, but yes, what screen resolutions, what phones, Android, iOS, native apps, many questions. So it's very important to have the client interacting with us most of the time. Throughout the software, the Agile project, we have rules that we'll see in next slides. Motivated individuals. Of course, the team is the essence of the development. So this is where you have to trust your employees. You have to give them and support them and give them all the tools that they need to deliver the job. Face-to-face conversation. One of the essence or one of the foundation of Agile is that you have to, they enforce the face-to-face communication. We lessen the emails, the chat, SMSs, or any communication that's not face-to-face. Based on my experience, it solves a lot of problems. Working software is a primary measure of progress. At the end of each sprint, if the software doesn't work, there is no need or there is no value of what you delivered. In Agile, we enforce and make sure that the software works and usually in good quality. Sustainable development. So the sponsors, developers, and users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. So we will see after we have sprints, 3-week sprints, and at the end of each sprint, we have a deliverable. And technical excellence and good design enhances agility. Of course, the skills and good design, not even UI, UX design, also the solution design and architecture as well, plus clean code is the key essence of a good practice of agility. Simplicity, keep it simple, stupid, and you're not gonna need it, Yagni principle. The art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. So if the client requested X, you deliver X only, but a good product, incremental, functional, and not a big bunch of, let's say, artifacts that the client doesn't need. Self-organizing team, the best architecture, requirement, and design emerge from them. So in Agile, we don't have a Scrum Master, a project manager or a technical director. No, the team itself is self-organized. They will choose the tickets and the tasks that we'll be working on. And with time, they'll get to know each other. They know the skill sets and they will adapt and enhance what's missing to deliver that software. How to become more effective and adjust. It's all about learning from practice. It's not just reading a book. It's like swimming. You just you have to practice. You can't just read it in a book. And then with time, when you do your work, you execute, you will sit and read and check what's missing and enhance and redo it again. It's all about iteration. So you plan, you do, you check, you act, then you plan again. Hisham? I think you're muted.
And you are right. Well, after this introduction of the 12 principles of the Agile Manifesto, here just to emphasize that Agile is here to drive for value. And the objective is not to deliver, is not to maximize the volume of value being delivered or the volume being delivered. It's to maximize the value being delivered by teams. So with Agile, we focus on value delivery and not on predefined product definition, or we don't stick to or adhere to a predefined plan. So we continuously adapt to changes coming from the context, the business context from the customer, and we adapt the value being delivered. Now, if it's about focusing on the business value, it should be it should implement mechanisms to take feedback from the customer, and this is the case. It's based on focusing as well on outcomes, on impacts, not on the output. As Robert mentioned, if you are delivering a functionality for the customer, and if this functionality is not what is expected by the customer, then this is not useful for him. So you are not, will not be focusing on the value. If you are delivering a set of artifacts which are not used in by the customer, then it's useless, and you are losing time and money. Now, Agile respects the change and adapt to the change. And what in this complexity, what would be the benefits of using Agile? Here, just small basic criterias. For example, the business value. Here we have on these graphs, we have in orange, we have the Agile development, and we have the traditional development, like a waterfall in the blue. If we speak about business value, in the waterfall, since the final product will be delivered after the last phase in the process, then you will see your value at the end. In the opposite side, with Agile, we will start to see value after 2 or 3 weeks, which is a sprint, because after a sprint, the customer will start to receive a working software or a working product. Again, in terms of adaptability, in the traditional development with Waterfall, at the early beginning, you have high adaptability, but however, with time, if you have any bug, any change in the requirements, you need to come back to the first phase and to roll back again. Then you will have a very low adaptability. However, for Agile, it's based on iterations, so the iterative aspect will make adaptability as a high value. The risk curve, if we take a look again, more the time is spent, will be decreasing the risk in Agile, because we are going to decrease the number of unknowns, and we will be exploring and learning fast. in a fast pace. However, for the waterfall, the risk will remain at a high level, and most probably at the end it will not drop as we saw here. Even it will increase drastically, because if we discover any changes or any issues, the cost here will be too high, and the risk for the delivery on time will be too high as well.
Just to add,
Now,
Hisham, for the risk,
yes,
since we have the client with us all the time, and if there is anything that has changed in Agile, we can detect it right away because it's iterative. While the traditional, we have to wait till the, let's say, the final demo, and the client, there's no interaction all the time.
again, now when we talk about the agile mindset, we stress on it because we usually we have that we have the tendency to go and to learn a new practice or a new way of doing things. For example, to learn Scrum, or to learn Kanban, or to learn Safe, or less, or whatever. But here still, this is a set of tools and practices and the frameworks, and this is visible because you can talk about them directly, you can see the others working on it, but still this is the tip of the iceberg. Agility is more a mindset, which is at the very bottom, and whenever you will have this shift in the mindset, and to be focused on the value, and to reduce the risk, and to learn in incremental and iterative way, this is the mindset, which is enabled by a set of principles and values. And for sure, it starts by adopting new practices and tools and processes. This is what we call today doing agile versus being agile. Doing agile, you start by learning practices in whatever framework you have. You start to implement, inspect, and adapt processes. You start to adopt empiricism and continuous delivery. You have the focus, and you reduce waste, and you implement the flow. However, for being agile, it's more related to values, to principles, to the dynamic and the collaboration between the individuals, with openness, with courage, and commitment to the common goal. And again, with respect for people, to be user-centered and always driven by value. And now, with the next part of this Agile Heads Up, we are going to introduce for you briefly, or in a nutshell, the Scrum framework.
Okay.
Again, for your questions, just for the questions on Slido 25680.
Okay, thanks, Hisham. So Scrum is one of the agile practices. It consists of many actors, artifacts, and ceremonies. So let's start. Usually we need to interact with the client. Usually the product owner is the person that is responsible of meeting the client, gathering the requirement, and interacting with them most of the time to get feedback. You have the Scrum team, which is responsible of developing the software using Scrum methodology. And you have the Scrum Master, which is the guy responsible of enhancing and coaching the team to have a better understanding of Agile, and solve the problems or any feedback that they need. The Scrum Master will be the guy to answer. In Scrum, we have the artifacts that are the product backlog. A product backlog is where we put the requirements, the tickets, usually a board, a physical board, or can be done on Jira. This is where all the requirements are there. We have the sprint planning meeting. The sprint planning meeting is where the team meet with the product owner, and the requirements are broken down into many sprints. A sprint is usually the a specific phase of time, usually time boxed around 2 to 3 weeks, where the team creates the product or code the product and deliver at the end of the sprint an incremental executable piece of software that can be used by the client. And every day the team will do a daily Scrum meeting where 3 questions are asked to each team member. This is a 15-minute meeting. What did you do yesterday? What are you doing today? And any blockers that you faced during that day. And here is the role of the Scrum Master to detect any problems and try to help the team solve the problem. Again, the Scrum Master is not a project manager and is not a team lead, so he is not interfering with any technicalities. He is only here to help the team themselves detect the issue. At the end of the sprint, we have 2 events. One is the sprint review. This is where the team sit together and try to see like the product delivered, the demo to the client to get feedback. And the sprint retrospective is a meeting where the team meet to see what can be done better, any improvement that the team need to do for the process to be better, faster, any problems that they faced, and solutions to overcome these issues. There's a lot of ways, a lot of retrospectives, zombie, hot air balloon, and many other practices. So in a nutshell, I'll go over it quickly. So the product owner will meet the client. They create the backlog, which represents everything that they need. Then the team meet with the product owner to create using the sprint planning meeting to create the sprint backlog. The team will spend 1 to 4 weeks sprint to execute the code. Every day they do the daily Scrum. And at the end of the sprint, they deliver the product, they meet, and then they adapt, as we saw in one of the previous sprints that we learned by practice. So at the end of each sprint, we ask each other what can be done better and solutions that the team is coming up with. As mentioned, the product owner owns what is desired and is desired. The Scrum Master, keeper of Scrum process, a facilitator, as the Scrum team owns the how and how quickly work is delivered. Stakeholder is the client. The user are the people using our system. Ceremonies, we have the sprint planning meeting, the daily Scrum meeting, the sprint review demo, and the sprint retrospective meeting. As mentioned here in the sprint retrospective, the Scrum team revises their work and how to make it more efficient and effective in the future. Artifacts, we have the backlog, the product backlog, the whole solution, what to deliver. The sprint backlog is what to deliver in each phase. And the product increment is what represents the software. Okay.
Now, what's next? So with this heads up, as I mentioned at the early beginning, it's just for you to give a taste on the Agile mindset and on a brief introduction to Scrum. With Agile Beirut Supermarket, we can continue with, so we have our monthly meetup. We run workshops, seminars, and dojos. By workshops, for example, Scrum simulations, a workshop of 3 hours. It has been done so far for Agile practitioners, for students in the Belize University, and it's something that has no prerequisites in terms of knowledge of agility. It helps. You can discover with a Scrum simulation how to develop, for example, in an agile way using Scrum and a mobile application. Other workshops like product value game for product owners or product oriented, dice of depth game for technical depths, building quality for the quality aspect in in Agile, and we have, so this is a non-exhaustive list. Seminars, some of them has been delivered already, Scrum Bat and Scrum And. This is an advanced level for practitioners who are already using Scrum. Scrum Ban using Scrum and Kanban. Future seminars on Agile transformation, Agile at scale, business agility, or continuous learning. We run as well dojos for helping Scrum Masters to grow and product owners as well. And on this supermarket, you can contact us. So I will share with you at the end the different channels for contact, and we can set up together any of these initiatives as well. It's our role in Agile Beirut community to help you to grow in this direction. Now it's room for questions and answers, and we'll keep 5 minutes for the end for the return on invested time. So here
Hisham,
for the questions. Yes,
just
Robert.
mention the team. We have the website, the meetup group, the WhatsApp, and all the social media channels that they can get the latest updates from our events. Usually we use Meetup, Twitter, and Facebook for latest posts. So let's go over Slido. Let's stop sharing maybe here.
So what is the time remaining, Maria?
So we have until 5:30, and if needed, we can extend.
Okay, so we'll have 10 minutes of question and answer guaranteed, and 5 minutes for the roti. Unless we have more questions, we'll see with you if we extend. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll share my screen for the Slido. You guys can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, Yalla, let's take the first question. Hisham?
Yalla.
How to keep teams motivated with constantly evolving requirements? If a lot of work needs to get scrapped and repeated, how do you protect teams from burnout? Interesting question. Yalla, Hisham, let's start.
So we keep teams motivated with constantly evolving requirements. So first, it's known that a high agile team, a team who is ready to change the focus suddenly, if the client requires that. So if you are working on one direction and the client completely wants another direction, a high agile team should be able to do that. Now, this is what we call to transform the threat into an opportunity. If you see the changing requirements as a threat, this is not the right approach. So changing requirement is a fact, and we adapt to this. However, how we can protect them in the sprint, we can protect them by saying that during the sprint, we don't change requirements. So changing requirements will occur from one sprint to another, and it will be driven by feedback from customer during the demo, and it will be gathered by the product owner during the sprint. This is a way how to protect the teams from the changing requirements. Nevertheless, you will still, so in practice, you will still have some changes, but a change will be an exception and not as a routine. If a lot of work needs to get scrapped and repeated, how do you protect teams from burnout? So for the first part of the question is, if it's related to technical aspects, it's with automation. And automation will be implemented by the teams in what we call slack time, which is around 10 to 15% of the time of the sprint. And this is a time where the teams will implement some automation to get right about all these scrapped and repeated works. Helping teams from burnout, here it's a matter not of a team, it's a matter of the context where the team is living. So here at the level of the management should understand that a motivated team and self-organizing team, this is what will guarantee a sustainable delivery of value. It's not a team who is working for 12 hours a day or working very long days. This is not sustainable. So burnout will occur. And how to protect the team from burnout? First, we tried at the level of the management to increase this awareness, and for the teams to make them to express if there is any sign of burnout, to implement what we call the psychological safety.
Thank you, Hisham. I will add a couple of words on that question. Here, the problem is not Agile or Scrum. As I can see from the question, the problem is mainly management and applying Scrum or a healthy Scrum in the context of the industry of the business. When work is evolving, it's normal in Agile to evolve. And that's the essence of Agile, is that we cater for change even at the latest phase of the development. So it's healthy to have a change. That's why in a practical Scrum, what we do usually is to create a new ticket for that change, and we prioritize it during the sprint planning event. And it's normal to have something before something else because the client should be satisfied. And even the work that you did get scrapped, it's normal. But when you do an iterative approach, it's not like you're scrapping the whole thing, you're scrapping a small functionality. And a healthy practitioner of Scrum, when you estimate the amount of work in the sprint planning event, you kind of plan for the next sprints, and the team will be more efficient and deliver on time and go to their homes on time as well. So there is no mean to burnout in this context. I guess I'll take the second question. You also mentioned a commitment to a common goal that the developer owner have. How do you work around that common goal, changing often, bi-weekly, monthly? I guess it's kind of in the same context. It depends on the Scrum duration, or if you're using Scrum, let's call it iteration duration. So let's say we're doing a bi-weekly sprints. Hisham, can you please mute? Bi-weekly means that you meet at the beginning, you execute the work, and then you deliver in 2 weeks. So you shorten the sprint. This way, the changing requirement or goal is easy to tweak than having a full month. Hisham, do you have anything on that matter?
So here, briefly, it's matter of when we say goals or common goal, we have a common, the team, they have a common mission and a common vision. So they drive in one direction. And goals, there is no more this big goal. We have goals at the level of sprints. And during the sprint, the team will drive on in this goal, which is the goal of the sprint. Now, with the epics or with a product owner will ensure that there is a continuity and there is a conductive line between the different goals that will lead to the ultimate goal, which is or to the ultimate direction of defined by the customer.
Okay. The next one is how do you
yes,
okay.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
How do you communicate or to show the business value to such processes, to stubborn or to dinosaurs, business owners, when everything is to them is considered urgent? So with these people, it's simple. Because the urgency, it's not a single variable. It's not based on single variable. Urgency comes from different sources, and the urgency in addition to urgency, there is the arbitrage between the other values. So business owners, they have too many requirements, too many needs, and everything is urgent. So we start by helping them to define the urgency and to define what we call the cost of delay of any feature. Any feature or any capability required by the business owner, it has a some what we call a business value. Business value is something that just finger in the air, and the business owner will say this is relatively most important than this in terms of value and or less important. And some of the features or capabilities, they are constrained by time. So we have the time factor or the time criticality. Maybe a feature which has a less value, but it has a high time critical because it is part of a contract that we signed with a third party, and if we don't have it, it will trigger, let's say, a high loss. So this will increase the urgency for this element. Some of the features are just risk reduction, helping for risk reduction, or they are helping for opportunity enablement. Typically, for ISVs, for independent software vendors, some features are implemented because they are requested by pre-sales teams, because you are preparing, you are talking to a new customer, and this new customer is absolutely needing a new capability. And here we implement some features to show the customer that our software is able to deliver this capability. This is what we call the cost of delay. In addition to the cost of delay, we have the other aspect which comes from the implementation or the execution team, which is the job duration. How long it will take to implement this feature. And here we with these two aspects, the first aspect from business value, time criticality, risk reduction, opportunity enablement, this is the business side, plus the perspective from the implementation. With these two perspectives, we can help the management to define their urgency and to be aligned with the execution teams. This is what we do.
Thank you, Hisham.
Now,
regarding risk in Agile, I wonder why it's not higher. Multiple changes will affect timeline and cost. In Agile, risk is detected in early stages. Example, let's say the team, let's say it's a technical risk, and the team started working on the project. Let's say the technology chosen or the framework, let's say you're going with AngularJS and not React.js, or .NET versus PHP or Laravel. The problem will show at the first stage of the project. Also, let's say if it's a business or requirement, an unclear requirement, the risk can be shown at the beginning because the client, as represented by the product owner, is present during the meetings, and they can intervene in case something is not working well. Let's say they're changing the budget, there's a limitation in the software or the hardware. The client can agree or disagree or give feedback. Whereas if it's the end of the project, let's say after 8 or 9 months, the risk is high because the client is not there to help the team. Multiple changes will affect timeline and cost. Also, multiple changes in Waterfall can affect the timeline and cost. So it's not only in Agile. Let's say in Waterfall, you have the contract and you have requirements that are fixed. If you need to change it, it will impact many things. And specifically, if you're in the middle of the project, it's also the more you approach the end of the project, the more expensive the change request will be. Hisham, anything to add?
Nothing so far.
Okay, the last one. Yeah, you take it. Yeah. Scrum, Kanban.
So Scrum versus Kanban briefly. If just a brief example at the beginning. So if you have a software maintenance and software evolution, you implement new features. So here you plan and you implement. The support is more, you have tickets and you want to burn them down as soon as possible. So the first difference between Kanban and Scrum is time boxed. You have a time box of 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It is a sprint. In Kanban, it's a continuous flow. You don't have a time box. Productivity in Scrum is measured by number of story points or by velocity of the sprint. In Kanban, we focus on what we call the cycle time, the time from the start to the end to finish a story. And in Scrum, you have defined roles, Scrum Master in between, and in Kanban we don't have this rule defined. In Scrum, so the timelines go through time boxed frames. In Kanban, it's always the focus on the flow. We focus on cycle time to optimize, and it's always to get things done. Typically, in agile teams today, we have we use both Scrum and Kanban. Scrum for all the evolution of the product in terms of implementing new features. So they are planned, they are sized and implemented. In parallel, all the tickets for support and maintenance are implemented using Kanban with a dedicated capacity from the team. Hope I answered this question. However, we delivered one time in Agile Beirut a seminar on Scrum and Kanban. It's Kanban, and you can find the material on agilebeirut.org. Now, to finish, I will share my screen, Robert, just for the routine. So I will share with you on the chat the link. Yes, Robert already shared it. I will share my screen. So here it's just to get a taste of your feedback on this session today together on this heads up. Do you see my screen, Robert?
Not yet.
No, we don't see your screen.
Okay. In all cases, you don't need my screen to input your to put your feedback. So you have just to go to this link and to put your feedback. The routine is to give a rate from 1 to 5 for this session. 1, I didn't. It was boring. I didn't learn anything. 5, it was excellent. I learned a lot. And you can have an explicit feedback in the routine. Yes.
We can still we can't see your screen. If you want, I can share mine.
I will send you another link where you can see the progress of the results. It's on chat.
Okay. There is also one question. Someone added a question. We will get to that question. Don't worry, we'll answer all of your questions. But let's finish the roti and then we'll get back to it. So this is the roti, and
this one. No, not this. This one is for what they received. So to give their input. So here just it could be a feedback anonymous, or they can give their name and email if they want us to send them back the material. And you can open the second link I sent to you.
It's not copying. Let me see.
No. I put a second link, Robert.
Yeah.
No, this is the first one. I put another one, Robert.
It's not copying. Zoom is not copying. طيب, no worries.
Robert,
do you want to share?
Robert, I just put on chat. Do you see what I put so far or not?
I did, but Zoom is not copying. Is not allowing me to Control C and Control V. Send it to me
Maria,
on WhatsApp.
You can. Yes, okay. Robert.
Okay. Okay. You see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, meanwhile, maybe we can take the last question. As a product manager owner, do I need advanced programming skills? Also, what software tools am I required to use an agile framework? From my perspective, as a product manager owner, you don't need to have programming skills. You should know the basic if needed, because you're not intervening with any technicalities in the team. It's the role of the most senior person in your team. You should be taking care of the business side. In Agile, we don't have product manager owner role. We have the product owner only that interacts with the clients. Your role is to gather the requirement, create the epics, user stories, tasks, mainly the epics and the user stories. And then you make sure to communicate back to the client for any questions. I usually use Jira for managing and ticket creation, but there's a lot of tools and frameworks for that. Hisham, any input on that?
So for me, it's the product manager or product owner. The main focus would be the business aspect, and if having advanced programming skills, not mandatory. However, it will be helpful in case the product by nature is a technical product. So if you are developing, for example, APIs, this is something that could be helpful. Or if you are developing some third parties to be embedded as OEMs, this would be helpful. But this is not mandatory. In terms of software tools, it will be so you have the tools which are used by the team, but for a product manager today, you need to think about tools which foster collaboration with your customers. So to master all collaboration tools, for example, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Miro board, which is digital visual boards for collaboration. So this kind of tools that could be helpful to communicate and to collaborate with the customer.
Okay, I think we're good. Maria?
Okay, thank you very much, Robert and Hisham. So if you have any questions, anyone still has any questions, we can still give in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And if not,
the ROT will be open for another 2-3 hours, so we'll not close it. So if you can take your time, if you want to take your time 2-3 minutes just to fill back this feedback for us, this would be helpful and will help us to learn from this experience as well.
Okay, we will also be sending a feedback email, so we can include the ROT link in the email. That's it. Do you guys have anything else to add?
We will send you the slides and to share, and we will be posting this on the website as well. Okay,
thank you very much to Agile Beirut. Please, if you're an AUB student, let us know so we can add you to our group, the WhatsApp group for DSC AUB. We are a new community, developer student community at AUB, and we're hoping to become a club by next semester. So if you can join us and keep updated with our events and future
thank you, Maria, for inviting us, Agile Beirut, and looking forward to new collaborations.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.